He filled the unforgiving minute. That's the phrase that I think, in my mind, explains Tom's life the best. The unforgiving minute, in my mind, it's a phrase that explains the fact that every minute we get a new minute, and we can use that minute or we can waste it. We can fill the minute or we can leave it empty. But that minute will not forgive us if we don't use it. It goes away and never comes back. Tom knew how to fill the unforgiving minute better than anyone, I think. You can use it. You can use that minute for work. You can use it for play. You can use it for love. You can use it for relaxation. But you should use it, not waste it. I first met Tom at the ISIT in Asilomar in 1971, Asilomar, California, if you don't know, near Monterey. Tom, I believed, had just finished his years as an assistant professor at Stanford, at least as I reconstruct the chronology. 1971, he was never an assistant professor. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know that. But he was, 33, 34 years old, I guess, in 1971. And I remember sitting at a lunch table. There was one of the older, more senior members of our community. I think it was Dave Slepian at the table. Tom was about to leave for his sabbatical at MIT in 1972, and Dave said, "So you're going back to where it all started." And to this day, I don't know whether he meant to where Tom started or where information theory started, or maybe it was just a play on meaning both of those things together. The next story that I'd like to tell was at another ISIT in Cornell, 1977. Toby Berger and I were the co-chairman of that ISIT, and Barbara and I had a room in a hotel. We set up a bar one night and had an open house for everyone to come to. Those days, an ISCT was much smaller. I think the total attendance was 170 or 180 people, something like that. So you could, and they didn't all come to a cocktail party, so you could hope to squeeze them into a large hotel room. But anyway, the night wore on, and towards the end of the night, there was only Tom and I and Barbara left in the room, and a half a bottle of bourbon that Tom and I were trying to finish. And Tom decided that it was time to try Barbara, to see if he could figure her out, and he began to push her to explore her boundaries. And Barbara defended herself very well. Barbara, my wife, she played back with Tom. She played his game, and I think that day was, as I remember, was the start of her friendship and understanding of Tom Cover, what he was. Then another story in Metsova, the information theory workshop in Metsova, Greece, some years later. I think at the last day the conference was over. I remember sitting outside the conference center. I was reading or something. Tom and Barbara were playing backgammon. Tom, of course, was an expert backgammon player, and Barbara was new to the game of backgammon, but she's an avid gamester herself. And she beat Tom that day. And to this day, I believe she carries a feather, an invisible feather in her invisible hat, a feather that says, I beat Tom Cover at backgammon. Karen, I believe we met Karen sometime in the 1980s. She began to come regularly with Tom, became Tom's first love, his inspiration. Possibly she wrote some of his papers, I don't know. But I remember, again, Max Costa organized an information theory workshop in Salvador, Brazil. And some of us played hooky one day, and we took a boat out to an island off the coast there. I remember Dave Forney was with us, and Barbara and I and Karen. And the four of us I can remember very clearly, rolling around in the surf. We actually got down on our hands and knees and rolled around that day. We were younger. And I think that was the day that I became friends with Karen. That was the day that marked the passage from her being an acquaintance to the day she became a friend. and we've been friends ever since. The one other story, I think, I don't know if Nagar is in the room or not, but I'd like to tell a story about Tom's 70th birthday party, which I was unable to attend because Nagar Kayavash, the beautiful, brilliant, and bubbly Nagar, was getting married in Italy, near Pisa that day. So I was at her wedding. Barbara and I were at her wedding. And at the reception, I said to Nagar that I explained to her I was unable to go to Tom Cover's 70th birthday party because of her wedding. I felt it better and more appropriate for me to be at her wedding. And she looked at me in the eye for a few minutes, and paused, and she said, well, if I was invited to Tom Cover's birthday party, I would gone myself rather than come to my own wedding. Because it's very simple, because I could be married anytime, but Tom Cover's only going to have one 70th birthday party. So I thought that was a good story. I think that I can end there. The unforgiving minute that I mentioned earlier is from Kipling. Many of you probably recognize that. And if I can remember the final line, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distant run, then the world is yours and all that's in it. And what's more, you'll be a man, my son. I think more than anyone else, Tom Cover filled Kipling's promise there.